We've done. There's no time. Yeah, it's just over when whenever you. We have not had them here in the past. We have in the summer we have. If we start.
Yeah, I got you. All right, let's get this show on the road. All right. Good evening. This council meeting on Wednesday today, July the 12th, is called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Griffin,
Here.
Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polensik, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please dispense with the journals.
By Councilmember Santana, that the reading of the minutes of the last meeting be dispensed with the journal approved, seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Thank you. Please share communications.
File number 754, 2023, from Mayor Justin Bibb, appointment of Luis Cartagena to Board of Directors of Cleveland-Cuyahoga County Port Authority. File number 755, 2023, from Mayor Justin Bibb, appointment of Andrew Sargent to Cleveland City Planning Commission. File number 756, 2023, from Mayor Justin Bibb, appointments to Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls. File number 757, 2023, oath of office for Terry Hamilton Brown, Interim Director of Department of Economic Development. File number 758, 2023, from Director Frank Williams, Department of Public Works, notice of acceptance of bench for use at Lincoln Park from Aflac Community Care Grants. File number 761, 2023, from Council President Blaine A. Griffin, designating without objection of Cleveland City Council Alan Dreyer to serve as Clerk of Council Pro Tem for all matters requiring the clerk's signature on July 7th. File number 807, 2023, initiative petition submitted to Clerk of Council on July 10th, 2023, to amend charter to enable People's Budget process, allocate funds on an annual basis to the People's Budget Fund, and permanently establish the People's Budget Steering Committee. File number 759, 2023, dedication plats for St. Luke's redevelopment subdivisions 2 and 3, MLK Jr. Drive, between East 110th and East 116th Street, Ward 6, approved by Committees on Municipal Services and Properties and Development, Planning, and Sustainability without objection. File number 760, 2023, dedication plat for a townhouse development on the northeast corner of Lorraine Avenue and West 47th Street, Ward 3, approved by Committees on Municipal Services and Properties and Development, Planning, and Sustainability without objection. File number 778, from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, file number 778, 2023, regarding a new license application at 6506 Fleet Avenue, Ward 12. File number 779, 2023, regarding a transfer of license application at 12104 Larchmere Avenue, Ward 6. File number 780, 2023, regarding a transfer of license application at 5500 Walworth Avenue, Ward 15. File number 781, 2023, regarding a transfer of ownership application at 5300 Riverside Drive, Ward 17. File number 782, 2023, regarding a new license application at 5300 Riverside Drive, Ward 17. File number 783, 2023, regarding a transfer of ownership application at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, Ward 17. File number 784, 2023, regarding a new license application at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, Ward 17. File number 785, 2023, regarding a stock transfer application at 4163-65 Rocky River Drive, Ward 17. File number 786, 2023, regarding a transfer of ownership application at 4161 West 150th Street, Ward 16. File number 808, 2023, regarding a new license application at 14037 Puritas Avenue, Ward 16.
Madam Clerk, please share appointments.
Approval of mayor's appointments. File number 809, 2023, from Mayor's Appointments Committee of Cleveland City Council, recommending the appointment of Luz Pelot to the Community Relations Board, term ending March 31st, 2025. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 810, 2023, from Mayor's Appointments Committee of Cleveland City Council, recommending the appointment of Jay Westbrook to Community Relations Board, term ending March 31st, 2025. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 811, 2023, from Mayor's Appointments Committee of Cleveland City Council, recommending the appointment of Charles P. Lucas to the Community Relations Board, term ending March 31st, 2026. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 812, 2023, from the Mayor's Appointments Committee of Cleveland City Council, recommending the appointment of Roland Mohammed to the Community Relations Board, term ending March 31st, 2026. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 813, 2023, from Mayor's Appointments Committee of Cleveland City Council, recommending the appointment of Robert Render III to the Community Relations Board, term ending March 31st, 2027. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 814, 2023, from Mayor's Appointments Committee of Cleveland City Council, recommending the appointment of Michael R. Sandberry to the Cleveland Landmarks Commission, term ending June 1st, 2027. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 815, 2023, from Mayor's Appointments Committee of Cleveland City Council, recommending the appointment of Regina Williams to the Cleveland Landmarks Commission, term ending June 1st, 2023. Without objection, the appointment is approved. File number 816, 2023, from Mayor's Appointments Committee of Cleveland City Council, recommending the appointment of Andrew Sargent to the Cleveland Planning Commission, term ending June 1st, 2025. Without objection, the appointment is approved.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please share condolences.
Resolutions of condolence by Councilmember Conwell for Diane E. Coates, by Councilmember Conwell for Anna Louise Smith, by Councilmember Gray for Roberta May Foy, by Councilmember Gray for Bernard Anthony Wilson, by Councilmembers Griffin and Casey for the Honorable Gerald Francis Sweeney, by Councilmember Griffin for Ernestine Tiny Washington, by Councilmember Griffin for Michael Chappelle, by Councilmember Griffin for James Jim Nathaniel Brown, by Councilmember Griffin for Terry Marie Jones Young, by Councilmember Griffin for Reverend Dr. Leroy Banks Sr., by Councilmember Griffin for Thomas E. Smith, by Councilmember Griffin for Taraz Smagalia, by Councilmember Griffin for Helen Elizabeth Jackson Griffin Porter, by Councilmember Griffin for Richard Martinek, by Councilmember House for Sister Tahira Mujahat. Okay, thank you. By Councilmember House for Betty Jean Pace, by Councilmember Jones for Deacon John Alexander, by Councilmember Jones by Councilmember Jones for Lady B. Mitchell, by Councilmember Jones for Habiba Barnes, by Councilmember Casey for Robert L. Hanna Jr., by Councilmember Casey for Kyle Ralph White, by Councilmember Casey for Jessica Marie Fedarko, by Councilmember Starr for Shirley Sterrett, by Councilmember Starr for Mary Mabel Smith, by Councilmember Hairston for Juanita Gerald.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any other condolence resolutions? Councilman Slife?
Thank you. Could you just add me to the resolution for Jessica Fedarko?
So noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Polensek?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you please add my name for the condolences for Judge Sweeney, for Terrace Muscala, and also for the congratulatory for Omega Phi Psi. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Deborah Gray?
President Council, add my name to Diane Coates.
So
Okay.
noted.
Are there any other condolence resolutions? Seeing no other condolence resolutions, will all members rise for a moment of silence? Thank you. Are there any congratulatory resolutions?
Resolutions of congratulations for all members of council for Kimberly Burks Moss. By Councilmember Gray for Dolores Cammon. By Councilmember Griffin for Lurleen Patterson. By Councilmember Griffin for Viking Polaris. By Councilmember Griffin for Dr. Stephanie Fall Creek. By Councilmember Griffin for Zeta Omega Chapter, Omega Psi-Phi Fraternity on their 100th anniversary. By Councilmember Griffin for Evangelist Renee Anderson. By Councilmember Hairston for Ep Marsh Senior of the Year. By Councilmember Jones for Pauline Dixon. By Councilmember Jones for Reverend Dr. James P. Quincy III. By Councilmember Starr for Unity Faith Missionary Baptist Church. Resolutions of recognition by Councilmember Jones for Elder Lois Swanson. By Councilmember Polensek for Timothy Fillinger. Resolutions of appreciation by Councilmember Moore for Charles Chuck Gliha. By Councilmember Moore for Anthony Tony Brancatelli. Resolutions of commemoration by Councilmembers Casey and Spencer for Gloria Aaron.
Before we move any further, I know that I promised this young lady that we are not going to put her on the spot, but I do want to ask if all council will please rise to give a round of applause for the services for Mrs. Kimberly Burks Moss. Today is her last. Thank you, and I basically promised Ms. Moss that we would not put her on the spot for speaking or anything, but I did feel it was definitely necessary for us to acknowledge her years of service, so thank you so much. If we could, I know that we do want to take a picture with Ms. Moss. I think what we should do, you know what? Can we do it now? Let's take a picture if we could. With council, we want to take a picture with Ms. Moss. So let's take a picture with Councilman Moss. Then we'll resume the meeting if we could, okay? Thank you. Yeah, right here at the podium. Be great. If you could come right here, Ms. Moss.
How about you sit in the chair?
The hot
Lord.
Big chair.
You're in the hot seat.
Oh, that's great.
I can see over the top, but anybody want to get in?
Everyone, turn your body.
Come on, Shorty, get up.
We got everybody to get
Everyone,
in.
turn your bodies so we can squeeze more people in.
Yeah, we got to get as many in as possible.
Don't look it.
You got us? Who has us? Or who's official? Who's going first? Who's going
Right here,
second?
back row.
Oh, you put her in the chair?
All right, we ready? Joe, they need to see you.
Okay, all right.
Bishop, go ahead.
Come on, turn like this.
Okay.
There we go, baby.
I can't see you leaving, Kimberly. Send me that legislation one more time. Then I had no Android.
There it is, right here.
Come on.
Over there.
Everybody good?
No, right there.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, thank you.
Can I scoot back?
Yep, you good to go. Thank you.
Hey, Council President, but we still can talk about it tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Put a mic up.
We won't put her on the spot. We won't put her on the spot. I promise that. But I do want to say, Kimberly, as you take your seat, I just want to say thank you so much always for your professionalism, your kind and calm, and your demeanor was always a calming presence in the office. And we hate to see you go. I'll be honest with you, you are one of those people who I always enjoyed to work with because you were just about the business of making sure that council ran efficient. that the legislative process operated in a very efficient manner. And I can't say enough about how much I've learned from you and how much I admire and respect how you went about your business every day. And I tell people this often, you get council members and others and mayors that, get their names in papers and all these other places, but there's so many dedicated workers across this city that may not get streets named after them, but are just as important to actually make the city be as great as it could be. So I thank you so much for your years of service, and I'm sure that a couple of other people would like to do the same. Okay. Councilman Joseph Jones, and on this one, I'm going to ask if we can try to keep it around 2 because we do have to get to the business of council, and I know a few other people are going to want to make comments. Thank you.
When I was sitting there, I was talking to my colleague, and then I heard Stephanie Howe start screaming, and I didn't know what was going on. So I looked over to Charlie Slife to ask him what just happened, and he says, "Moss is she's retiring." And I said, "No, she can't do that. She can't retire. She's too young to be retiring." But now, since these moments and the photographs, I begrudgingly took a photograph, I don't want to see you go. Over the years, it is, as the president has stated, your professionalism, you're taking care of the business, and you're knowing the room and understanding the setup of the various different chair people who serve on the various different committees, and then our back and forth about where you put my name tag. All right? And we've had those arguments. You put my name tag where I want it to be. And so, I'm still getting acclimated to the proposition that you're going to retire. But what I will say, it has been a joy serving on city council and having you and knowing you for over 30 years. And I appreciate the fact that you have served council, you served it well, and as long as I've known you, there's not been any nonsense I've seen or any issues I've seen coming from you. So thank you for your outstanding service, and I'm going to miss you here on this council as a council person in Ward 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll go to the dean, I think, and then, or who, I don't know who, Dean or McCormick. Dean?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, Madam Clerk, and to Kim. A lot has been said, but you know what? Every time I needed a highlighter, I knew where to go to. Every time I needed a pen, I knew where to go to. If I needed a pad, I knew where to go to. Kim was she was the walking supply store over here in the committee room. So I appreciate your professionalism, your concern for the body. You were always here a dedicated employee, and I've had the pleasure to serve with many dedicated employees with council over the years, and you're right up there because you care about this place. And what I've learned a long time ago to my brothers and sisters here in council, this is a family, and at times you've had to sit there and endure those committee meetings. I understood that. I'm looking at her and saying, oh my God, that poor woman's got to sit through this stuff. But at the end of the day, she was always there with us.
Baseball Legends of Fame, DBA Baseball Heritage Museum, for the purpose of storing and displaying historical baseball memorabilia relevant to League Park for a period of up to 5 years with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Works. Ordinance 748, 2023, by Council Members McCormack, Bishop, and Griffin, by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into an amendment to the June 30th, 2016 Property Operations and Programming Agreement with the Group Plan Commission for Public Square to provide a restricted contribution to support the Commission's maintenance obligations on Public Square. Ordinance 749, 2023, by Council Members Conwell and Griffin, by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Aging to apply for and accept one or more grants from the Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging for the 2024-25 Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging programs, including supportive services and aging and disability resource center programs, and authorizing the Director to accept gifts, grants, or services from any public or private entity for the purpose of this grant. Ordinance 750, 2023, by Council Members Moore and Slife, authorizing the Director of Community Development to enter into a grant agreement with Cleveland Neighborhood Progress to partially finance costs to acquire, hold, and implement and manage renovation of certain housing in city neighborhoods, and further authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Cleveland Neighborhood Progress to provide economic development assistance to partially finance costs associated with acquisition, stabilization, and holding commercial properties, and to provide economic development assistance for associated Ordinance 764, 2023, by Council Members McCormack, Griffin, by Council Members McCormack and Griffin, by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Port Control to enter into an amendment to a contract with Team Hallahan LLC for a one-year extension to continue to assist the Department of Port Control, airport-related federal agencies and issues. Ordinance 765, 2020, Council members Polinsik and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office for establishing and formalizing the Crime Gun Intelligence Center. Ordinance 766, 2023, by Council members Conwell and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Health to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Health for the Lead Safe Housing Fund Community Primary Prevention Program, and to enter into various written standard purchase and requirement contracts, authorizing the Director to enter into one or more contracts with various agencies, entities, or individuals to implement the grant, and authorizing the purchase or lease of television and radio advertising time and/or other media. Ordinance 767, 2023, by Council members Casey and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Utilities to enter into various written standard purchase and requirement contracts with Itron Incorporated for the purchase of meters and related equipment and services and labor and materials to provide modifications to existing equipment for a period of 3 years, and authorizing the Director to enter into one or more contracts with Itron Incorporated to provide hardware and software maintenance and to upgrade existing software systems for the Department of Public Utilities for a period of 1 year with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Utilities. Ordinance 768, 2023, by Council members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Port Control to enter into an absolute triple net lease agreement with Alvest Equipment Services for the lease of space in Building 217 at 6010 South Cargo Road at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport for airline support services for Aer Lingus for the Department of Port Control for a period of 1 year with 4 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control. Ordinance 769, 2023, by Council members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Port Control to enter into a lease agreement with United Service Organizations for the use of a lounge, office space, and support area for military service members located on the baggage claim level at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport for a period of 2 years with 3 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control. Ordinance 770, 2023, by Council members Polinsik and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of Cascade breathing air bottles for the Division of Fire, Department of Public Safety for a term of 1 year with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Safety.
All right, let's have first reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance 776, 2023, by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request to amend sections 17, 22, 23, 35, and 38 of Ordinance 194, 2021 as amended relating to compensation for various classifications. Ordinance 777, 2023, by Councilmembers Conwell and Griffin by departmental request to amend the title and section 1 of Ordinance 1082, 2021 relating to agreements to continue the first-year Cleveland program. Ordinance 796, 2023, by Council members Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, approving the addition of property located at the intersection of East 97th Street and Lamont Avenue to the Northeast Ohio Advanced Energy District, accepting and approving a petition and plan from a property owner in the district identifying a special energy improvement project, declaring it necessary to conduct the special energy improvement project, providing for the assessment of the cost of such special energy improvement project, authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into an energy project cooperative agreement and a special assessment agreement to implement the project and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 797, 2023, by Council members Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into an agreement with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland or its designee to assist with costs related to outreach, assistance, administration, and the UBIZ Microloan Fund Program, and assistance, training, and planning for small business through the Entrepreneur Center. Ordinance 798, 2023, by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, to amend Sections 1 and 4 of Ordinance 88, 2023, relating to directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to respond to the public health emergency or its negative economic impacts by improving the public sector capacity and workforce with respect to building an IT platform to track and report on data in the city's 311 system, and to make necessary investments in broadband infrastructure to strengthen city cybersecurity, and to supplement the ordinance by adding new sections 4A and B relating to the contracts for advertising and marketing. Ordinance 799, 2023, by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, approving the collective bargaining agreement for the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association civilian personnel, and to amend Section 10 of Ordinance 194, 2021, relating to compensation for various classifications. Ordinance 804, 2023, by Councilmember Hairston, designating East 99th Street from St. Clair Avenue to Colonial Avenue with a secondary and honorary designation of Bone Thugs and Harmony Way. Ordinance 826, 2023, by Councilmember Spencer, authorizing the Director of Department of Community Development to enter into agreement with Northwest Neighborhoods CDC for the Green Space Fund Beautification Project through the use of Ward 15 casino revenue funds. Ordinance 740, 2023, by Councilmember Slythe, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Cleveland Housing Network Believe in Home 5K and 1 Mile Walk on August 12, 2023, managed by Hermes Sports and Events. Ordinance 741, 2023, by Councilmember McCormack, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the annual Cleveland Turkey Trot, November 23, 2023, managed by Hermes Sports and Events. Ordinance 743, 2023, by Councilmember Slythe, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Pat Joyce Fund 5K on August 12, 2023, managed by Run the Land. Ordinance 744, 2023, by Councilmembers McCormack and Moore, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Towpath Marathon, October 7, 2023, managed by Hermes Sports and Events. Ordinance 744, 2023, by Councilmember McCormack, consenting and approving the issuance of a permit for the Walk to End Colon Cancer, October 22, 2023, managed by Hermes Sports and Events.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Read the motion to suspend the rules.
Hello.
Councilwoman House.
Yes, please recuse me from ordinance 804-2023.
A no vote?
No, recuse me. Those are my cousins. So recuse me.
So noted.
Thank you. Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Santana, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage. Seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slythe, Spencer, Starr. 16 yeas.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slythe, Spencer, Starr. On 804-2023, there are 15 yeas, no nays, 1 recusal. On all others, 16 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. First reading, ordinances referred for administrative review and committee review.
Ordinance 800-2023 by Councilmembers Hairston and Griffin by departmental request to amend Section 337.031 of the codified ordinances passed July 18, 2018 relating to townhouse RA districts. Ordinance 801, 2023, by Council Members McCormack, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request to supplement the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio by enacting new sections 301.01 and 209 relating to transit-oriented development and transportation demand management, and to amend Section 341.02 as amended by Ordinance 1872-08, and Section 349.11 as amended by Ordinance 1236A-67 relating to applicability and exceptions to minimum parking requirements.
Thank you. First reading emergency resolution referred for administrative review and committee review.
Resolution 806, 2023, by Councilmember Griffin, recognizing John James's years of service to Cleveland City Council and naming the small conference room in City Council offices as the John James Conference Room.
All right, first reading emergency resolutions to be adopted.
Resolution 805, 2023, by Councilmember Bishop, withdrawing objection to the transfer of ownership of a C1, C2, and D6 liquor permit at 14510 Kinsman Avenue and repealing Resolution 261, 2023, objecting to said permit. Resolution 737, 2023, by Councilmember Moore, objecting to a new C2 liquor permit at 6506 Fleet Avenue. Resolution 738, 2023, by Councilmember Casey, objecting to the transfer of ownership of a C1, C2, and D6 liquor permit to 15002 Puritas Avenue. Resolution 739, 2023, by Councilmember McCormack, withdrawing objection to the transfer of ownership of a D5, D6 liquor permit at 1870 West 25th Street and mezzanines, and repealing Resolution 260, 2023, objecting to said permit. Resolution 742, 2023, by Councilmember Casey, objecting to the transfer of ownership of a C1, C2, and D6 liquor permit to 4161 West 150th Street, South Unit.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Santana, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polinsik, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 16 yeas.
Call the roll on adoption.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polinsik, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 16 yeas.
Thank you. Second reading emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance 553, 2023, by Councilmember Moore, authorizing the Director of Department of Community Development to enter into an agreement with Slavic Village Development for the Home Repair Grant Program through the use of Ward 12 casino revenue funds. Ordinance 556, 2023, by Councilmember Bishop, authorizing the Director of Community Development to enter into a grant agreement with Union Miles Development Corporation or its designee to partially finance construction of homes for veterans experiencing homelessness. Ordinance 622, 2023, by Councilmembers Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, determining the method of making the public improvement of constructing, rehabilitating, renovating, replacing, or otherwise improving public facilities, buildings, and other similar structures, including site improvements and appurtenances, and authorizing Director of Public Works or Capital Projects as appropriate to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement, enter into one or more professional services and other contracts needed to implement the improvement, to apply for and accept grants and gifts, and authorizing the direct employment of the necessary labor for the Department of Public Works and Office of Capital Projects. Ordinance 630, 2023, as amended by Council Members Slife, Mayor Bibb, Jones, Council Members Jones, Bishop, McCormack, Gray, Starr, Griffin, House, Polinsik, Conwell, Hairston, Kelly, Moore, Harsh, Santana, Spencer, and Casey, to supplement the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio by enacting new sections 171.68 relating to paid parental leave. Ordinance 647, 2023, as amended by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, giving consent of City of Cleveland to the Director of Transportation of the State of Ohio to construct improvements at various intersections in the city under its pedestrian safety improvement project and authorizing agreements. Ordinance 661, 2023, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, determining the method of making the public improvement of constructing, rehabilitating, renovating, replacing, or otherwise improving recreation facilities, ancillary recreation buildings, and other similar structures on city-owned and city-leased park property, including site improvements and appurtenances, authorizing the Director of Public Works or capital projects as appropriate, enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement, enter into one or more professional services and other contracts needed to implement the improvement, to apply for and accept grants and gifts, and authorizing direct employment of necessary labor for the Department of Public Works and the Office of Capital Projects. Ordinance 670, 2023, by Councilmember Hairston. Excuse me. To supplement the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio by enacting new section 263.05, County Land Reutilization Corporation exempted, related to fees for examination of plans and applications for the issuance of permits, variances, and for the original inspection and permit to operate for the installation and modification of any air contaminant source or control equipment. Ordinance 678, 2023, by Council Members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Port Control to enter into one or more amendments to lease agreement with Air Canada to increase the leased premises at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. Ordinance 679, 2023, by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Human Resources or other appropriate director to apply for and accept one or more grants from Cleveland Foundation to place approximately 5 public service fellows in various departments for a period of 1 year. Ordinance 680, 2023, by Council Members Conwell and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Health to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Commission on Minority Health for the continuation of the Cleveland Office on Minority Health. Ordinance 681, 2023, by Council Members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Port Control to enter into an absolute triple net lease agreement with South Shore Cable Construction or its designee for certain property located at 6400 Cawthorne Road for the City of Brook Park for a purpose of supporting their general business and light industrial manufacturing for a term of 2 years with 3 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control. Ordinance 682, 2023, by Council Members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Port Control to enter into one or more master leases and agreements with various signatory airlines and cargo carriers for the use and occupancy of certain city-owned spaces located at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport for a period not to exceed 12 years. Ordinance 683, 2023, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the purchase by one or more standard and requirement contracts for the purchase, lease, or lease with option to purchase of various on-road vehicles, apparatus, and off-road equipment, cabs, bodies, and accessories, equipment, and other aftermarket items necessary to equip the vehicles authorized for their intended purposes, including the vehicle rehabilitation, training, and inspections as needed for the Department of Public Utilities. Ordinance 684, 2023, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the purchase by one or more standard and requirement contracts for the purchase, lease, or lease with option to purchase of various on-road vehicles, apparatus, and off-road equipment, cabs, bodies, and accessories, equipment, and other aftermarket items necessary to equip the vehicle authorized for their intended purposes, including vehicle rehabilitation, training, and inspections as needed for the various divisions of city government. Ordinance 687, 2023, by Council Members Conwell and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Health to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Health for the 2023-24 Cities Readiness Initiative Program, authorizing one or more contracts with various agencies, entities, or individuals, and authorizing the purchase or lease of television and radio advertising time and other media. Ordinance 688, 2023, by Council Members Conwell and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Health to apply for and accept a grant from Cuyahoga County Board of Health for the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant Program. Ordinance 704, 2023, as amended, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin, Jones, McCormack, Gray, Starr, House, Palencic, Conwell, Hairston, Kelly, Moore, Harsh, Santana, Spencer, Casey, and Slife, to amend Section 505.07 of various sections of Chapter 513 of the Codified Ordinances as amended relating to patios and parklets, and to change their name in Chapter 513. Ordinance 705, 2023, by Council Members Kelly, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, giving consent of the City of Cleveland to the Department of Transportation for the State of Ohio to construct the ramp safety improvement project at West Boulevard and Interstate 90 and authorizing agreements. Ordinance 707, 2023, as amended, by Council Members McCormack, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to lease certain property located at 1302 Euclid Avenue to the Playhouse Square Foundation for a term of 5 years with one option to renew for an additional 5-year period exercisable by the Director of Capital Projects. Ordinance 710, 2023, as amended, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Public Works on behalf of the Office of Sustainability to apply for and accept a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture to conduct the USDA composting and food waste reduction project, to enter into various contracts to implement this ordinance, authorizing the Director to accept gifts from various public or private entities for this purpose. Ordinance 711, 2023, by Council Members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Port Control to enter into one or more contracts with AEM Commercial to provide an Earth Networks Cepheric Siren System and related equipment, services, and software at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport for the Division of Airports, Department of Port Control for a period of 1 year with 3 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Port Control. Ordinance 715, 2023, by Councilmember Griffin, authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Karamu House to provide economic development assistance to partially finance completion of theater wing renovations.
All right, read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Santana, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Palencic, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 15 yeas.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Palencic, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 15 yeas.
Thank you. Legislation to be tabled.
Ordinance 462, 2020, by Councilmembers Brancatelli and McCormack, to supplement the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio by amending Section 337.251 relating to limited lodging in residence districts. Ordinance 676, 2020, by Councilmember McCormack, to repeal and replace Ordinance 798-11 by enacting an ordinance to provide for the evaluation of complete and Green Street elements in all construction and maintenance projects within the public right-of-way. Ordinance 125, 2021, as amended by Councilmembers Bishop and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Public Works to apply for and accept a grant from the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission for the 2019 Cuyahoga County Healthy Urban Tree Canopy Grant Program, and authorizing the Director to employ one or more professional consultants to perform field validation of street tree location and data to survey and map out trees and other related services. Ordinance 433, 2021, by Councilmember Brancatelli, to supplement the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio by enacting new Section 26305, County Land Reutilization Corporation exempted, related to fees for examination of plans and applications for the issuance of permits, variances, and for the original inspection and permit to operate for the installation and modification of any air contaminant source or control equipment. Ordinance 1034, 2021, as amended, by Councilmembers Casey, Griffin, Bishop, and Kelly by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a lease agreement with the Director of Public Safety for the lease and improvement of public utilities owned property located at 1825 Lakeside Avenue for a term of 20 years with the public purpose of evidence and storage operations for the Department of Public Safety, determining the method of making the public improvement of constructing, rehabilitating, renovating, replacing, or otherwise improving the building, parking areas, and/or surrounding land to stabilize the property for the Department of Public Utilities and to adapt the property for the use of the Department of Public Safety, authorizing the Directors of Public Utilities, Public Safety, and/or other capital projects as applicable to enter into one or more public improvement professional services standard requirement and other necessary contracts, to apply for and accept grants and gifts, and authorizing the direct employment of necessary labor for the Department of Public Utilities, Public Safety, and/or the Office of Capital Projects. Ordinance 1149, 2021, by Council Members Brancatelli and Kelly by departmental request, to amend Section 9 of Ordinance 85607 as amended by various ordinances relating to establishing the City of Cleveland as a community reinvestment area under Section 3735.65 of the Ohio Revised Code. Ordinance 282, 2022, by Councilmember Griffin, changing the use, area, and height districts of parcels of land east of Edge Hill Road to the western border of Cleveland Heights. Ordinance 288, 2022, by Mayor Bibb, establishing the Center for Economic Recovery in the Office of the Mayor and authorizing the Director of Finance to apply for and accept gifts or grants from various public or private entities to assist in the furtherance and purposes of the office. Ordinance 450, 2022, by Council Members McCormack and Griffin by departmental request, to amend Sections 139, 01, 04, 05, 06, and 07 of the codified ordinances as amended by various ordinances relating to the duties of the Director of Port Control and its division and commissioners. Ordinance 606, 2022, by Council Members Polensek and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Safety to apply for and accept a grant from the Cleveland Police Foundation for the 4D Cultural Transformation Project. Ordinance 673, 2022, by Councilmember Harsh, mapping a specific building setback along Roanoke Avenue between State Road and West 30th Street. Ordinance 1203, 2022, by Councilmembers Spencer, Bishop, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request, to amend the title in Ordinance 304, 2022, and to supplement the ordinance by adding new sections 5A relating to authorizing the Director of Public Works to apply for and accept a grant from the National Park Service for the purpose of developing a new city park to be located near the Clark Recreation Center, authorizing the purchase of various property interests, and authorizing the construction of the park. Ordinance 1265, 2022, by Councilmember Griffin and Mayor Bibb, directing the portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to the city's COVID-19 response or other available funds for the city by authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into one or more loan agreements with Cleveland Development Advisors Community Reinvestment Fund and/or the Opportunity Cleveland Loan Fund to capitalize projects that respond to the economic development impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, including through affordable housing and the renovation of vacant or abandoned properties and the rehabilitation of commercial properties. Ordinance 87, 2023, by Mayor Bibb, directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to respond to the public health emergency by improving public sector capacity and workforce with respect to implementing platforms in the city to enable schools to engage and solicit feedback from students' families, and authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into agreements with POSIP, Inc. for the same in the amount of $730,625 to be encumbered March 3rd, 2021, and ending December 31st, 2024. Ordinance 90, 2023, by Mayor Bibb, directing the portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to respond to the public health emergency or its negative economic impacts by providing services to address educational disparities in disproportionately impacted communities and authorizing agreements with Cleveland Municipal School District Transformation Alliance for the same in the amount of $984,500 to be encumbered March 3rd, 2021, ending December 31st, 2024. Ordinance 92, 2023, by Mayor Bibb, directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to respond to the public health emergency or its negative economic impacts by providing services to address educational disparities in disproportionately impacted communities and authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into agreements for the same in the amount of $5,410,000 to be encumbered March 3rd, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2024. Ordinance 95, 2023, by Mayor Bibb, directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to respond to the public health emergency or its negative economic impacts by providing services to address educational disparities in disproportionately impacted communities and authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into agreements for same in the amount of $3 million to be encumbered March 3rd, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2024. Ordinance 98, 2023, by Mayor Bibb, directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to respond to the public health emergency or its negative economic impacts through the support of a citywide program designed to assist city residents who want and are available for work, and authorizing agreements with Seeds of Literacy and Ohio Means Job, Cleveland, Cuyahoga County for same for an amount not to exceed $400,000 to be encumbered March 3rd, 2021, ending December 31st, 2024. Ordinance 99, 2023, by Mayor Bibb, directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to respond to the public health emergency through the support and development of a comprehensive long-term violence prevention strategy in response to an increase in violence since the pandemic, and that improves the public sector capacity and workforce for an amount not to exceed $998,600 to be encumbered March 3rd, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2024. Ordinance 105, 2023, as amended by Council Members Hairston, McCormack, Bishop, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of City Planning to apply for and accept a grant from the United States Department of Transportation for the 2022 Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, Cleveland Vision Zero priority implementation, authorizing the Director of City Planning or appropriate director to employ one or more professional consultants, and authorizing various written and standard purchase and requirement contracts, determining the method of making the public improvement of constructing safety improvements, and authorizing the director to enter into one or more public improvement contracts for the making of the improvement. Ordinance 211, 2023 by Councilmember Griffin, by departmental request, to amend sections 16903 of the codified ordinances relating to employment references. Ordinance 213, 2023 by Council Members McCormack, Bishop, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Capital Projects to apply for and accept a grant from the United States Department of Transportation for the Reconnecting Cleveland I-90 program, authorizing the Director to employ one or more professional consultants to provide a feasibility study for the I-90 corridor between East 22nd and MLK Jr. Drive, authorizing other agreements, and authorizing the Commissioner of Purchases and Supplies to acquire, accept, and record for right-of-way purposes real property and easements. Resolution 632, 2023 by Council Members McCormack, Hairston, and Griffin by departmental request, approving the creation of the new Special Improvement District in the city by University Circle Incorporated as an existing qualified nonprofit corporation, approving the amendment to the Articles of Incorporation by University Circle Incorporated, creating the Special Improvement District, accepting petitions from owners of property in the proposed district, accepting the initial comprehensive services and assessments plan for the new district, declaring it necessary to provide police and safety services, providing for an assessment for the cost of such services upon benefited property in the district, and declaring an emergency.
Read the motion to table the legislation.
By Councilmember Santana, that the rules be suspended. Okay, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read. Oh, no, I'm sorry. By Councilmember Santana, pursuant to Rule 33 of the Rules of Council, that the legislation just read be laid on the table, seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Gray, Hairston, Harsh, House, Jones, Casey, Kelly, Moore, McCormack, Polensek, Santana, Slife, Spencer, Starr. 14 yeas.
Thank you. We'll now move to miscellaneous. First, I want to bring up Councilman Mike Polensek, and Councilman Polensek has asked for extra time, so I am going to give Councilman Polensek extra time. Councilman Mike Polensek.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues. First of all, I want to commend on my colleagues for being here since 9 o'clock. It's been a long day, staff, everybody who's been connected. Mr. Chairman, I got to tell you this, though, for the record. In all of my time in this body, 13 consecutive terms, I have never, ever seen a time where no one from the administration has showed up at a council meeting. Not one person. If it wasn't for the critical nature of some of the pieces before us, I would have asked that every piece be held. I have never, ever seen that. This is a standing meeting of City Council, and no one from the administration took the time nor the respect to show up for this body when all these members and our staff have been here since early this morning working on pieces of legislation that they requested. But let me just get right to the point here, Mr. Chairman. I want to first of all commend the officers, Cleveland police officers, U.S. Marshal Service, and any other law enforcement agency that was involved in the apprehension of the individual, the suspect involved in the shooting on West 6th. I commend them all and hope that there is an aggressive prosecution. However, my main reason for standing up on the floor tonight, Mr. Chairman, is to dovetail off of that brutal incident to talk about the violent crime that has been taking place in this city. As of yesterday, 101 people have lost their lives in the city due to homicides. At the present path that we are on, we will hit a 30-year record for homicides in the city, when our population exceeded over 500,000. Mr. Chairman, what I experienced on Sunday in my own ward was absolutely outrageous. This gun battle between individuals at a park and two stolen Kias. And as I went out to the scene, and I have to say this for the record again, not only am I the Ward 8 councilman, but I'm chairman of public safety for this wonderful body. No one from CD ever, from the Cleveland Police Department, ever called me to notify me of the shooting. It was two elderly ladies that called me to tell me, Councilman, there's been a bad shooting in the neighborhood. No one from CPD ever called me. Once I got on the scene and saw what was there, I was absolutely appalled. 5 streets cordoned off. A young man, 17 years old, shot, lost his life in this raging gun battle. But as I stood out on the scene, looking down the streets, what did I see? All these little kids playing in the yards, people having cookouts. I'm thinking, my God almighty, I could be dealing with a bunch of dead kids or innocent bystanders because of the way these fools were shooting. I stood in front of my late mother-in-law's house on Alhambra and Mandalay and looked at the 38th shell casing in front of her house, the tags, realizing that she lived in that house for over 60 years. She could have been on the front porch like she was all the time, but sit out there. That was her R&R, sitting on that front porch. Her whole front of her house was a crime scene. But as I start looking around and talking to people, what did I hear? Councilman, these fools are running through our neighborhood every day, waving guns, shooting, threatening people, and stolen cars. Then when I was trying to leave the scene, I was trying to back out in my truck, and there was a basketball court in the yard, in the street, and I asked them if they could please move it so I could get around it, and then I stopped and I asked the gentleman who was playing with the kids, I said, tell me, what's the deal with the basketball court in the street? Councilman, drive around the streets, look at all the basketball courts on the street, because the kids can't go to the park to play because the thugs took over the park. The kids can't play basketball. They're afraid to go. Afraid to go to the park to play basketball. Then I start looking at the indicators for when there's a shot fired, and I saw number 60, and I was appalled. 60 shots, I thought. Then I went out yesterday and started driving around, and believe it or not, they never picked up the triangles. They left them. '77. But I was mistaken. Then I learned this afternoon, Councilman, you're wrong. It was 93 shell casings. 93 shell casings. These fools were shooting at one another in a residential working class neighborhood. Then 3 elderly ladies that live across from where this initiated at the park told me, Councilman, because I went over their house, we can't sit on our porch because of these fools. And the one told me, she said, I had to buy a gun. Now, this is not the border of Ukraine and Russia, where you should have to arm up to live in a house. This is the streets of Cleveland. Mr. Chairman, something is terribly wrong here. The incident on West 6th magnified the problem. But look at the carnage every day in this city. And yet, I was never notified. And I want to tell you, as of today, they never briefed me yet on the shooting. Never took the time to brief me on what took place. What I got is a one-paragraph description, which I don't even believe is correct. I got that today, like all my colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I've said to the mayor, I'm here to help him. You've said that, other members. I don't believe there's anybody in this body that wants to see an adversarial relationship. I certainly don't. I'm here to help the mayor. I voted for him. 5 members of my family voted for him. And one of them said to me yesterday, do you think I did the right thing? I don't know if I did the right thing. I said, no, you did the right thing because it's still early in his administration. He deserves a chance because he inherited a lot of things as well. But, Mr. Chairman, I stand before you today as the chairman of Public Safety Committee. I don't know what the game plan is. We asked that there be a briefing yesterday for all members. We're planning, and you saw the email chain, and they canceled that to brief us on what the game plan is for the remainder of summer and going into the fall. I can't tell you what the game plan is to address the crime problems in our neighborhoods. Now I hear there's going to be a summit, there's going to be this, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I hope something comes out of it. But, Mr. Chairman, there better be more just a summit of FOP and the CPPA. The courts have got to be involved. Juvenile justice system, which is broken in this county, has to be involved, because what did I hear from the Euclid chief of police yesterday, who's experiencing the same problem? We arrest them, they're back out the very next day. Out in the street the very next day. And it's just a vicious cycle of violence in our neighborhoods. I'm not going to live like this. And I'm not going to ask anyone else in my ward or across the city to live like this. Now, there's got to be a game plan. Now, we are right now down below what we were in 1923 in the Division of Police. Below what we were in 1923. Where is the marketing and recruitment plan we've been hearing is coming? I don't see it. I don't know it. And my people are asking the same thing. And then people are openly saying, you know, Mike, is this really about cutting the police or defunding the police? I hope not. I don't want to believe that. But the numbers speak for themselves. We are down 313 officers from where we were in 2020. Think about that, my brothers and sisters. And then I hear this thing, well, you know what, Councilman, there's no correlation between violence and the number of police officers working your streets. Is somebody smoking crack? What do the suburbs put an emphasis on? Patrolling the neighborhoods. Traffic enforcement. When we had mini stations, when we had the strike force units, when we had a DARE program, those were all preventive maintenance programs to reduce crime in our neighborhoods. I know I was here. Kevin was here. All gone out the door. Mr. Chairman, at the end of the day, the administration needs to get it. They need to understand we're here to work with them. We're here to help them. We gave them everything they asked for in the budget and then some. I'm not aware of any colleague here that objected to what went into the budget. We gave them everything to hire 180 police officers. We ain't nowhere near that. We're not going to be anywhere near that. So my message is this, and I'm asking is this, and I think the only way to do this is through you, Mr. Chairman. We've got to ask for a full presentation in the committee room. And I appreciate your concern because you're confronted with the same issues as all of us are. There's no neighborhood immune from this stuff. We got to understand what their game plan and what they're going to do to address these problems. And what's the holistic approach? Because we know that it's just not arresting people. We're not going to arrest our way out of this because there's more problems, bigger problems as well, social problems.
But we got to get these people off the street. Then we can try to figure out what's wrong in their life or what's happening at home. But you got to get them off the street, because if not, more carnage, more death, more mayhem in our neighborhoods. And again, I've been here longer than anybody. I have never seen the level of violence like this in my time in city council. Never, ever. This should be a manageable city. We're under 400,000, and we're not. And something is wrong with that picture. And when I see us at the top of every negative list and at the bottom of every positive list, as someone who grew up in this city, it angers me, because I know things can be better. So, Mr. Chairman and my honorable colleagues, I'm here to do whatever I have to do as chairman of public safety, working with each and every one of you. But you know what? This is ridiculous. 93 shell casings. 93. A young man dead. The third one in 3 weeks. Third one in 3 weeks. Shot. For what? For what? And 3 dead, 6 shot. And I just learned yesterday, and I'm not going to mention his name, but you're going to find out, that young man that was killed was the great-grandson of a very prominent leader in the African-American community, a dear friend of mine that I've known for God knows how many years. He's devastated by it. How many more young men and women, in some cases, are going to lose their lives because of the unruly streets here? So, Mr. Chairman, I could go on. You get my point. I'm going to be on people like White. I'm going to quote Fannie. I'm going to be on people like White on Rice around here if I don't see a concerted effort to deal with this problem in our neighborhoods. I have not seen it. We have a nuisance law. A lady on Maple Avenue says to me, a little old black lady says, Mike, I'm going to have to sell my house and leave. I can't stand the neighbors from hell terrorize our street. I'm going to have to sell my house. And I said, well, where are you going to go? She said, I'm going to go into an apartment in Strongsville. But she told me. I said, dear, whatever you get for your house, you maybe can afford to live there 3 years based on the rent. She's lived in her house 60 years. Why should she have to leave? Enforce the nuisance laws. Start doing what needs to be done in this city. It should not, and I'm going to leave it on this note. I will not let the men and women in this body, and you as the chairman, I will not let you become a punching bag or a pincushion for the violence in this city. We can't hire, we can't fire, we can't deploy, we can't administer. The charter is clear, but everyone in this body is hearing it, going to neighborhood meetings, hearing it about what's going on here. I'm not going to let that happen. I know where to stick the pins. There's got to be reciprocation here. But this emptiness here tells me something, tells me a whole lot. It's insulting to me. I'm speaking for myself. It's insulting to me not to have anyone from the administration sitting in this hollow chamber. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dan. I'm going to save my comments for the end, and what I'm going to ask is when I make my comments, because I want to abide by the rules of council, I am going to come down and make them from the floor of the majority leader, and have the majority leader, Kerry McCormick, assume my position as council president when I make my remarks, because I do want to respond. I'm going to go to Councilman Richard Starr and Councilman Joseph Jones.
First, I would like to say thank you to the Dean of Council, Mike Polizek. The words that he mentioned today is really the truth about what we're dealing in our city. January 3rd, once we got sworn into office, and I was over there where Councilman Harrison is at, I was sat down and I gave the speech. You know, you get your speech. And one thing I said is we would never be disrespected. This body would never be disrespected. And if you look to our right, you see not one person from the administration here. for our meeting that they asked us to pass all this legislation that we sat down since 9 o'clock this morning that they just want us to rush things through. Once again, we give the administration everything they asked for. And what do we get in return? All of the negative media, all of the blame for everything that goes wrong. So what I want to make sure we understand today is violence in this city has reached through the roof. Whether you're young, whether you're an adult, or whether you're a senior, we all are tired of it. But once again, we can't even look to our right to get any answers. We've asked for press conference, we asked for debriefings, we asked for every different possible solution to figure out how we can work together, but still, they don't show up to work. They rush legislation to us and tell us that it's time sensitive, but they act like only time they want to give us things to pass is when we on recess so we can pass it through. So I want to make sure we take a stand to understand this. All these different pieces of legislation that our clerk had to read and take 3 water sips ain't happening no more. And at the same time, I think we need to really look at what we're doing and understanding that we shouldn't pass another piece of legislation until we get an actual plan on what we're going to do about safety in this city. And I mean that. If we really want to take a stance, we have to do it through our legislative authority that we have. We give $230 million to safety. How many residents call you every day and tell you how unsafe they are in the city? How many people do you see over and over get shot? The past weekend we seen 24 people get shot in one weekend span. When we was at the table, we get a debriefing of a couple more homicides that just recently took place during the daylight. I am tired, I am frustrated that we don't have no plan. You ask everybody from the administration who administer and supposed to hold people accountable and be proactive with our approach, be creative. I'm tired of these chiefs lying on us and lying to us and telling us what we're going to pass for them as if they're running something. Well, do your job and run something. I know at the end of the day, my heart goes to everybody who's been a victim of crime, violence, especially gun violence. My heart goes out to those who were a victim of that senseless shooting that happened on West 6th. And I was surprised, and I was glad to see the mayor was able to give a statement finally to the media. But at the same time, when King Kennedy on Bundy, in Garden Valley, on 30th, on Cedar, on Broadway, St. Hyacinth, East 131st, Harvard, Huff Heights, Kinsman. We get shootings like that every day, and I never hear that we're going to do something until tirelessly and find something. I never hear people talking about 50,000 rewards. So what I'm saying is, where's that same fight? Where's that same desire and the answers when I got loved ones that I know in my neighborhood have to bury their child? My siblings, my nieces and nephew just lost another cousin in gun violence. My cousin, guess what? We don't see the same effort. So my stance is we got to come up with something. And I urge this administration, I urge the mayor as he's taking these trips, take that trip and make sure you will talk about bringing the National Guard, because we need to restore order in our city. We cannot sit back and just say we passed legislation. We're doing everything as council members to give the administration what they asked for, and we are not getting anything. $230 million to public safety. When I told everyone about that $10 million that we went to go put into a fund, and number one thing I told you all, we ain't got nothing for programming. We're waiting, again, waiting. Now, I keep telling you, I stand on the lines as a millennial. I've raised so many children throughout the city, whether it's West Side, on Trowbridge, whether it's on Mount Pleasant, whether it's in King Kennedy, whether it's at Thurgood. I've done it. And I'm trying to tell you, if we're not going to address poverty with real solutions, we're going to continue to see this war go on in our neighborhoods because we're not doing our part. Not saying us, but I'm talking about overall as a collective unit. It's going to take everybody to roll up their sleeve. But we need leaders to lead the way. And that's why I went and knocked doors to get elected, to say, hey, I understand the gap. But we ain't gonna keep just giving people the same thing. So when we're talking about this budget cycle, I'm hoping we really want to sit together and figure out solutions and figure out what we're gonna do with the funding that we have. And as in closing, we got a one in a lifetime chance, $511 million that was given to our city. Where is the actual plan that we can use from that ARPA funding to address this? We can't keep trying to say we're going to police our way out. We can't, because at the end of the day, I'm still starving if I'm living in poverty. If I'm living in poverty, I start preying on my own community and I start doing these senseless killings and start doing this dumb stuff. But until we come up and say, you don't run a city with these guns, we as elected officials run the city, and enough is enough, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. We need to take the gloves off and say enough is enough.
Councilman Joe Jones, and then Councilwoman Stephanie House.
I like your clapping, Stephanie House. Let me just stand up because I love the passion. I love to hear my colleagues about this subject matter of crime in our community because it has been one of the single issues of being elected into City Council back in 2018 is the fact that crime is an issue. Crime is a problem in our city. But with a cooler head on the subject matter because I think I ran my course talking until I've turned different colors on the subject matter. And sometimes feeling that what I had to say about the issue of crime in this city had fallen on deaf ears. So in 2018, coming into Cleveland City Council, I had never seen the kind of crime in that period of time where people were having drive-bys in our neighborhood. Some you hear on television, some you hear about happening in Chicago or LA or New York somewhere in some gangster mafia town. But then it got worse. We started having senior citizens, people who are not involved with the crime or drugs or distribution of selling drugs, getting their homes shot up. And that to me was amazing. That people who are not engaged in these activities are getting their homes shot up. A lady who has just passed was 202 years of age when she passed about a couple of weeks ago. She was that senior citizen who was in her home and her house was shot up and she received a bullet in her arm. I had never seen anything like it. In fact, today, as I stand up here and submit to you, I have never seen anything like these times that we're living in. I've never seen anything like it. We are seriously on uncharted territory, not just as the citizens of the city of Cleveland, but a nation. Not only as a nation, but a planet of uncharted territory. The stuff that I'm hearing, seeing on a daily basis. But here in the city of Cleveland, on July 4th, I get a phone call. I just not happened to have the phone on at the time. So the following day, I like to return my phone calls within a 12 to 24-hour period. And Mrs., I'm going to say Deborah, I won't give her last name. When I returned her phone call, she said, it's too late. It's too late. I had called the Cleveland Police Department 4 times to tell them that this party that was on my street between 150th and Benwood was getting larger and larger. More people coming to the event. And I went down, sent my grandchildren down to tell the person who was one of the organizers to come to my house. And he came to my house. And I let him have it. And I called the police 4 times. And within a space of 2 or 3 hours, we had more people than we could, the street was flooded with people. And I told them that if you don't send someone out here now, somebody's going to get killed. Please send someone out. So she had made her efforts to call me on several times that night that I didn't have the phone with me to tell me about what was going on and to try to urge me as an elected official to get the police out there to deal with the issue. And she said, it's too late. A young lady got shot in the back of the head and then shot in the back. Another young man was shot and killed. And another person was wounded. And the police didn't even come until after the fact. But had they come, we wouldn't have this issue right now. But I submit to my colleagues here, I'm going to use this term because it's a legal term, it's called culpable. You can't just be in a position of authority and power and don't use it as a chairman. When we had a previous chairman of public safety, he wasn't as good as you, Mike Polensek. He would have what we call microwave meetings. And we would be gone in less than an hour on all subject matters. And there was no way over the time. But the issues are still impressive and pressing on our neighborhoods and our communities, as you heard Richard Starr talk about the issues. And no one's coming to the table to help us in our neighborhoods. That's how we feel. From then all the way to now, nothing's gotten better. But when I use the term culpable, the residents are going to say, and what she said to me, I don't want to talk to you right now. You didn't answer my phone. They're going to hold us accountable. He talked about $511 million. Back then I said we need to use some of this ARPA funds to get more police on the ground. I came back to and stated we need to look at and think outside the box as a council. And I even said to the administration then and now, can we hire people who are 18 years of age? No. Can we use money to hire police officers with ARPA funding? No, it's not an allowable use. And then come to find out, other cities are using ARPA funds to pad their police department, bring in more officers, because they know that there's a need here. Also, other cities have used those funds as the capacity to sweeten the pot of $5,000 and $10,000 respectively, like Columbus, and bringing more police officers into their cities because they realize this is an important investment to make. And I've said it here on this floor that there's 3 areas that we must invest in the city of Cleveland. And if we get 2 of them right, just 2 of these 3 issues, it's called, for me, ABC 1, 2, 3. That's having a strong educational system to retain your existing people, young families, and bring in new families. You have to have a competitive system like Solon. You can't buy a home in Solon now. You can't get an apartment unit in Solon because it is absolutely full to capacity because people are going for the education. It could be like that here in Cleveland. Number 2, economic development. Retain your existing businesses, bring in new development. Increase your tax base. And 3, safety. Safety must become number 1, number 2, number 3 priority because our colleague Mike Polensek said it, we're 300 now and 11 police officers down, and we're at numbers of over 100 years ago levels. So as a council, as a body, and as a corporate community, because now the corporate community is responsible too. You can't have a corporate community missing in action. So on the corporate community side, I want to thank Tony George. Tony George came out and said, we need to resolve this issue now. He took immediate action and put the money where his mouth is and said, I'm putting $50,000 down on the ground to resolve this issue. And the issue was resolved, wasn't it? How about if we had a number of responsible corporate leaders like that? So he's concerned about the business and the business community in his neighborhood and his surrounding area where he has investments. So when we talk about working together, we truly need to fundamentally come up with a plan. I don't think that one issue will resolve another. I think that at the end of the day, we need to invest into this. We need to have a plan like Mike Polensek is stating. We need to have the council bagging behind it. We need the administration engaged in the process, and we need to have the corporate community involved. If we do that, then we send a strong message to the criminals. Not in this city. This is our community. You come over here in our neighborhoods, there's going to be a price to pay. I'm willing to work with anybody who's willing to work to resolve this issue of crime in our community. And I'm appreciative and thankful that it has reached to a certain point. Unfortunately, it took all the way up until now, since I got elected 3-4 years ago, to a pitching fever pitch. But it will get worse if we don't take action collectively working together. And I appreciate our president of Cleveland City Council for also being out there and being engaged in the process so that the citizens will see that there is leadership that is concerned, that is engaged, and that is involved. So with that being said, I'm willing to work with anybody with this issue, and I'm hoping that we might have some people on the east side that got some money that want to come up and follow suit like Tony George. Enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman House.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President. So a couple of things regarding the ordinances of today. For 804, the ordinance, I just want to let people know, I do love Bum, Thugs, and Harmony. I did recuse myself because they are my cousins, okay? So Stevie and Stanley are my cousins, and I look forward to the sign, the unveiling happening next month. The next one is in regards to 6/30/2023. Again, I want to personally thank Councilman Slife for working on paid parental leave here in the city of Cleveland. It is very necessary. Within that, though, as the conversation has unfolded, that has talked about the level of freeway we have given to the administration. He has been, Councilman Slife is very a class act, and to the willingness to partner with the administration who consistently motivation is to get a headline. I appreciate your leadership on that, and I am personally acknowledging you because many times the administration won't. They want people to carry their water. So I appreciate you doing this on behalf of workers here in the city of Cleveland. But one of the other things, the next thing I wanted to talk about was Ordinance 756, 2023. This is the ordinance that talks about the submission of the names from the administration to the Cleveland Commission on Black Women and Girls. And I really debated on if I was going to talk about it, but I said, no, I'm going to tell people because Councilwoman Gray and I, and in particular, Eba Kuhn, who is our policy staff member, has worked tirelessly on really trying to get this right. So as people know, the administration, after we pass the legislation, the administration does what they do, right? You are supposed to administer. So they came up with an application. They came up with a deadline, which was last year, in initial August, but then they extended it to the end of August. So we got over 130 applicants to apply for this commission, and then we were going back and forth to get to where we are. And then I guess last week or so, when I got the notice, Councilwoman Gray and I was like, okay, we saw some of the names, and we said, okay, well, where are those applications? And so the applications were sent over to us, and we noticed a couple things, like they were never in this original pool of 130. One of the applicants applied in April of 2023. And so we, Councilwoman Gray, was like, well, what's going on? You all developed the application. You all, the administration, came up with the deadline. How are we not following this, getting our candidates from the pool that they created? Council never got any applications. They all went to the administration. So being a team player, we thinking these are the rules. And so then the director of law tells me that, well, according to the legislation, we could basically pick who we want. We didn't outline this process. I had a lot of words, and it took me a minute to just respond back, but it's insulting. And like I told the law director, please don't insult my intelligence or that of Councilwoman Gray. We went in this process very clearly that if you put out an application and you make a deadline, you are telling people this is the process. So to come back last week to say we could pick who we wanted to, it was council members that contacted Councilwoman Gray and I to say, hey, we got people that we are interested in. If we were going to do it willy-nilly, we would have tell you to, hey, submit your people. It's a free-for-all. But we didn't do that, right? We did not do that because it undermines the process. And even after they have said what they did, Councilwoman Gray and I, on behalf of council, we are still trying to stick to the letter of the intent of what we put out here to Clevelanders. With that being said, Mr. President, I strongly urge this body moving forward for everything that requires an application that we make sure we write it down to the T. That they do not get administration discretion. Because again, it brings to mind this experience. Well, tell me what has happened with all of these ARPA applications. Did you score applications according to the deadline, or did you just pick and choose who you wanted to? It's insulting to the 130 plus women, black women and girls who submitted their applications, and it is insulting to people who are really trying to work to make this city better. They need to stop it. They really need to stop it and stop playing around. And I really hesitated to bring this because I want to bring that type of energy to a commission that is bringing forth and trying to solve problems, but it's very hard to work with someone that doesn't want to be a partner. And they show it consistently. They show it consistently. So with that, I'm the type of person, I'm not a type of person, I'm not going to do anything to you that I'm not going to say to you, right? So please, council members, know when it comes to Ordinance 373-2022, that's the Commission on Black Women and Girls, Councilwoman Gray and I will be submitting amendments to change it, right, again, because we have a partner in the mayor in this administration that's not being a fair dealer. And I think that is fair, but I'm putting them on notice. Thank you so much for your time. And like I said, council members, when you have things that are going through this administration, that you have agreements, please be very rare and make sure you have everything in writing, because you're dealing with a team or a group of people who are not fair dealers. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Councilman Kevin Bishop.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I know we've been here long. It's been a long day, so I'll be brief. I just want to take a couple seconds to thank you, Mr. President, for the passage of 556-2023. I am hopeful, and I believe that it will make a difference over on the southeast side of my community with the Veterans Home. It'll affect many lives. It'll change the trajectory of a lot of folks' lives. So I'm hoping also that we'll get more and more interest from the private community to come reinvest in our community. So, Mr. President, I just want to thank you. I think you were out of the committee room when Councilman McCormick called on us on that piece of legislation. So I want to thank you and all your efforts. I also want to thank the mayor's office and his administration for giving us an opportunity to bring some development over in Ward 2. Quickly, I also want to back up Councilman Polisic. I see Councilman Starr has left, but I just had a call with the lady from my community, and about 30 minutes before I came into the into the chamber, and she said, Councilman, I just wanted to let you know that she wanted to thank me for some things that I had done for her in the past. She said, I've been here 60 years, and I want you to let you know that sometime next month, by the end of next month, I'll be gone. She said, I'm scared. She said, it's a gentleman sitting outside of my house that fired at my house 6 times. I called the police. They won't do anything. She said, I'm scared. I can't go out of my house unless I have my children come over here and escort me out the house. And she said, I don't know what I'm going to do at my house, but my kids is going to find me a place to stay, and I'm leaving. I can't stay in the neighborhood too longer. So by next month, if you don't see me anymore, she said, you know I am. She said, I'll be back in contact with you. But it's just indicative of what Councilman Pawlensic has said, indicative about what Councilman Jones has said about our community if we stand by. And I want to say this, that we got to start with being a partner. And for the absence here today, and all the news media is here, with this absence here, it shows that our partnership is on shaky ground. And Mr. President, I want to reach out to anybody that believes and is trying to give up on this community and on the city of Cleveland, on the east side, on just because we have this violence. I want to say to you that we cannot give up. The citizens didn't vote for us to give up on their city. Mr. President, I thank you.
Thank you.
President Blaine Griffin.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the body. First, I want to say that I did never defend the indefensible. The mayor's cabinet should be here. I will be giving a call and having a discussion with the mayor and the chief and the rest of the people in the cabinet, because it is completely unacceptable that we don't have our partners from across the hall. This is the first time that I've ever seen anything like this. And before this, I was a part of the administration, and we watched for the duration of the day and got a notice to say that everybody needs to be in that meeting once it's done. This is the work of the body. So I'm offended, I'm upset. I will be giving a call and having that discussion because I cannot defend the indefensible. This week, I got into a couple of heated arguments. I usually try to use decorum and professionalism, and I always try to handle things in a manner that is respectable because I want to treat people with the respect that they deserve, so I expect to be treated with the same respect. But this week, I got some belligerent calls from constituents, business people, and other folks that were irate because everybody wants to blame council, but nobody wants to take the responsibility. You have citizens action committees that says, carve us out a nice big chunk of change so that we can make decisions, but have no transparency, have no responsibility, don't get any calls. They call Joe Jones, Kevin Bishop, Brian Casey. They don't call a police commission. They don't call some of these folks that are trying to do some of these citizens-led groups or whatever else. And it has a detrimental impact on our side, on our community. We got to start standing up to all of these groups and all of these folks that want to make decisions, tell us what we should be doing, but nobody wants the responsibility that this body got. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all we got. We are a body. This afternoon, something revealed as we were going through a piece of legislation, and somebody said, you cannot act solely by yourself as a council person. You guys have to act as a body. This body is probably the only form of government that is interacting with the people in the community. That's why the energy and the frustration and the anger is so palpable, because people transmit it onto us, and therefore we sometimes have that same amount of anger. People ask me, what keeps me up at night sometimes? It's not the West Side Market, God bless their heart. It's not a new business who needs a TIF or a tax abatement. It's not somebody who wants to build a major complex in the city of Cleveland. What keeps me up at night are the young men and women that are dying daily in this city, that people in this city feel like nobody cares. And I was always taught that nobody cares what you know unless they know that you care. And I got a message to the media where everybody talks about what council is doing, what council is not doing. We probably, no, not probably, we are doing more to engage our citizens and our public than anybody else in this city, period. So people come to us for solutions, and they come to us and they ask us to bear the responsibility. And you know what? I don't duck it. The reason I don't duck it because I signed up for this. And I had to take a step back because I sometimes have a temper, Mike Polensek, and I fire back when people say things to me. But as I thought about it, they got a right to be angry. People only want in this city what they deserve. They deserve to be living in peace. We should never have a person who spent 60 years, who probably got her house paid off, raised their children, sacrificed so much for this city, and every day we talk about people that are leaving this city. I won't give up on this city. My wife and me could have left a long time ago. We had enough money that we could move in the suburbs, but I stayed and stood ground in the city of Cleveland because I love this city. And everybody here that you see loves this city just as much. Once again, I always try to use professionalism, decorum, and always try to find ways to work across the aisle, and always try to find ways to work with people. But I also won't allow council to be a punching bag, to be disrespected, because this body of men and women work harder than anybody else in this city, deserve to be respected, and we fight on behalf of these citizens, and we're tired of making sure that we are having people that are taking over parks. I rode down the street the other day, had 50 guys that basically commandeer the street, and people want us to go out there and try to stop it ourselves. They don't care if I have a bulletproof vest. They don't care if I have a badge, if I have training. They don't care what I have. Councilman, somebody ought to do something. So we're going to do some things. We're going to do some things different. Sometimes legislation won't move as fast as it needs to move. Sometimes, if we just think that something is not done right or appropriate, we're going to change the proposition. We are an independent body of council that is here to work on behalf of the cities. We are not subservient to anybody. We are not playing second fiddle. We are co-leaders in this city, not followers. So it's important that you don't hear the individual voices that you hear today, but that you hear the collective body from all over the city, from Bel Air Paradise, Cam's Corner, Lee Harvard, Huff, Fairfax, Buckeye, Collinwood. It's a body. It's the city that's frustrated. People are angry. People are upset. But I will not give up this city. There are more of us that are well-meaning, good people who go about our day, going the quality of life, being good business people, doing other things. And I want to say this. I commend the family, the George family, for putting up that money as well. But I also want to say that we need to make sure that we tell all of these business owners, let's make sure we beef up Crime Stoppers. Let's make sure that we do some things. Let's make sure that we talk to the parole authority, okay? And let me say this. I'm for accountability. I'm for reform. I'm for making sure that police officers use professionalism. But I'm also for kicking butt whenever that little young man or woman is causing havoc on our city and bullying old people and young people is no excuse for an elderly person who gave up so much of their life and live in this city and living in their city like they're a hostage in their house. There's no excuse for a young person to be able to go to a park and not be able to play. And everybody wants to say, oh, you're being too hard. I don't care no more. At the end of the day, we need an all approach of how we're doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't say things that I don't intend on doing. That's why I'm kind of slow to anger and I'm kind of slow to promise things, because when I make a commitment, I'm going to follow through on it. And my commitment is to law enforcement. We're going to be a part of, even if I got to go into a meeting uninvited. and tell people what we stand for and what we want to do as a council and what we want to make happen as a council, we're going to do it. We got to support our police officers. We need more help. We need the parole board. Ladies and gentlemen, we need an iron fist and a velvet glove. Council has done everything we could to give the resources, to give the support, and everything else that the administration has asked for. But at the end of the day, right now, it's not enough. I'm going to continue to work with anybody who wants to address the violence of this city. But ladies and gentlemen, we are all we got. And we got to rely on each other and act as a body, because you know what? Like this, we're separate, but like this, we're strong. Thank you so much. All right. Madam Clerk, please excuse the absences.
Councilmember Santana, that the absence of Councilmember Moore is hereby excused, seconded by Councilmember Spencer.
Thank you. This council is adjourned to the call of the chair. The next meeting of council will be August 16th, 2023. Thank you.